Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the special called meeting of the Danville City Commission for December 1st, 2017. We do have quorum, so I will proceed with item 1, that being the approval of the revised 911 agreement. Councilor Dexter, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. Good morning. I'm pleased to report that the Boyle Fiscal Court yesterday approved a revised 9/11 service agreement and included some positive clarifications in the document, one of which just clarified that the shared costs are net costs, meaning you take the budgeted amount, subtract the CMRS funds and the local tax dollars to arrive at the net cost that will be split based on the population formula that we'd already agreed to. It was just a clarification. That is how it was going to occur practically, but now it's in writing. Furthermore, there's a clarification that the city will provide documentation to the county that could support an audit in the event that those funds are actually audited. And that is essentially a comparison or reconciliation of actual expenditures to the budgeted amount, which the city produces quarterly, probably in your reports that Michelle Gosser does. So that is something that can simply be shared, and of course the city agreed to share that information and more than likely would have done so anyway. But now that's in the document. And with those clarifications, the court passed it unanimously after a little bit of conversation, and they followed that by a motion to transfer all funds in all reserve CMRS and local tax dollars to the city after they are reconciled, which means that some has just been recently received. So we're not sure the exact amount. It's the end of the month, so those funds will be received and sent to the city immediately thereafter. Two very, very positive developments. So the document in front of you it is the complete document. It's signed by the judge and the clerk, and it is ready for you to make a motion to adopt the revised 911 service agreement as presented.
Do I hear a motion to that effect?
I will make a motion for approval of the revised 911 agreement document as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Cottle. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Flip the coin.
Flip the coin.
Could I just say one thing?
We are in discussion, absolutely. The floor is yours.
Stephen Dexter, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well,
In fact, I don't like being outdone. And yesterday at physical court, or whatever day it was, 2 days ago, they gave him a standing ovation. I'd like to do the same.
Hey.
I'm not sure that was intended for me. Well, thank you. That's unnecessary, but thank you. There are a lot of people who work tirelessly on this deal. I'm happy to play a role in pushing it across the finish line. But this has been definitely a concerted effort by this city manager for making it a priority, this commission for extending pressure to keep it before the public and to press for a resolution. And based upon the insistence of the city manager and the pressure and the value that you put on the agreement, it made it a priority to negotiate and bring it to conclusion. And I am thrilled that we have this now behind us.
Yes, just to echo Ron Scott's persistence, tenacity, willingness to engage in a difficult discussion, a series of difficult discussions, is not to be overlooked or understated. And that's excellent work on your part, sir.
there was a willingness on the county to be involved as well. So my comment would be, unlike Boyle County football's game tonight where there's a winner and loser, and Danville's game tomorrow where there's a winner and loser, I really consider this a win-win.
Most definitely.
The real pat in the back is that you were able to get to that point that we both want to win and win for our community.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's a win for the city, a win for the county, obviously, but who's the real winner here is the taxpayer and our citizen base. I mean, this enhanced service and the cooperation, they're the ultimate winners here.
But I'm glad Rick mentioned the county because
No doubt.
they've been willing to.
No doubt.
to
Solutions are
listen.
often difficult to find between two parties,
Yeah.
but when you have 6 elected officials in the county, 5 elected officials here at the city, and then a host of various interests of staff at both institutions, becomes not only cumbersome, but just problematic in finding out what is the true values that need to be in the document. Different people have different interests, and so the complication is finding something that pleases a majority of those interests and balancing those in a fair and equitable way. And certainly the process was long, but it worked, and both sides made concessions, and the winner is the 911 center that can now operate, hopefully effectively, with a clear document that says how the parties will act between one another, and it's a positive thing. It's not always pretty, but it was a positive process.
I would also say operationally, as our community engaged in discussing about how we could improve operations, the negotiated terms of the contract where we have the advisory committee to meet as necessary to talk about issues will lead to better communication, I think better response, and just better overall service. So there are many good attributes to this agreement.
And while I'm very pleased that Councilor Dexter did a yeoman's job here, takes 2 to tango, I want to thank County Attorney Lynn Dean for working with Stephen to really make this come about.
And this theoretically eliminates the quote-unquote reserve opportunity for anyone. It passes.
It does. It does. So it says essentially that this was a minor change in the document too, just from a practical standpoint. It says that the funds upon receipt will be transferred to the city without holding any in reserve after the funds are reconciled. So meaning, we said originally they'd be just transferred within 20 days. What they would like to do is, because apparently they get checks periodically throughout the month, and it would be easier for them to say at the end of the month, reconcile it, and the backdrop of that is it will be done by, at the latest, the first fiscal court meeting of the month. So the funds received the previous month will be reconciled and transferred at the first meeting of the fiscal court.
Makes sense.
That's great. Yeah. Well, I too want to thank everybody for their diligent work and for the cooperation that's taken place between both parties.
There will be, I venture to say, there will be few issues that are this complex and dynamic. And I mentioned to the court yesterday, and I'll mention again here today, if we can accomplish a solution, a joint solution to this issue, there truly shouldn't be any other insurmountable obstacle that we can't resolve amongst us. Because the delivery of 911 services is a complicated process. I mean, we've seen that. And there's a learning curve for everyone involved to figure out the process and how to make it the best it can be. And if we can do this, we should be able to do anything, figure anything out between us.
Perception is always interesting. and the public perception is that the city and the county can't get along, when in fact, where I sit, this city government and this county government have gotten along famously on a lot of things, and will continue to do so. But this one grabbed the public's attention and seemed to create the perception, which is not reality.
Well, and disagreement should not be seen as an inability to work together.
Yeah.
Disagreement on how issues should be resolved is not only healthy for the development of public policy, but I would say critical to it. You can't birth good policy outside of having some heated conversations about what's best. If we had sole agreement from the beginning, then it's probably not a good policy, or it's just so universally understood that you probably didn't need to reduce it to writing. But something like this, you want to have healthy debate, and as long as it's done professionally and fairly with everyone at the table, and you can arrive at a document like we have, then it's a healthy process. Again, perception-wise, it doesn't always look that way, but the fact of the matter is every conversation was professional. There was nothing that was illegitimate or under the table or below the belt. They were just practical differences of policy that have now been reconciled.
Amen. Any further comments or discussion?
No, sir.
Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion gladly carries.
The second item is regarding the city manager evaluation and compensation. The city manager's contract, as you know, requires an annual job performance evaluation. And at your special called meeting, you conducted that evaluation in executive session just for the benefit of the public's knowledge. And you are ready for an action item on that matter now.
I have a motion that, based on exemplary job performance of the city manager and his annual evaluation, and further based on the 3% pay increase given to all other city employees on 7/1/17, I move that we increase the compensation package of the city manager to $130,000, which includes his deferred compensation contribution and is a 3% raise rounded to the nearest thousand.
We have a motion from Commissioner Cardle. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion or comment?
Commissioners, we should add that should the motion approve, we should probably make that effective January 1, 2018, if that is acceptable to your
willing
motion.
to
Absolutely.
accept that?
Absolutely.
I will say without hesitation or reservation whatsoever, Ron Scott is worth every penny we pay him. And when you look at what we've gotten done over the last, how many years, Ron? 6, 5.5?
6 since.
But especially over the last.
12, it's been 6.
Do what?
Seems like 12, but it's been 6.
But especially over the last almost 3 years that I've been aware of. Been a lot of ground covered, and his vision and leadership, I think, is excellent and a great value for us. Any further questions or comments?
I'd like to thank Ron, well, Mr. Scott, for his work and his efforts on behalf of the city. So I agree.
I echo that.
Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, the chair will call the question. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
I thought I was going to die for lack of a second there for a minute. Get a little nervous.
Let me say thank you to
I think
all
there's
members of the
there's
City
too much
Commission.
courtesy up here. We're all looking at each other like, do you want to do it or should I do it?
We wanted to make him sweat.
What'd you say, Ron?
I just want to say thank you for the positive feedback and the 3% rounded up adjustment that all city workers did receive July 1. We do have challenges remaining, and to the best of my ability, I look forward to addressing some of those as we continue into 2018. And so I appreciate the working relationship that we have. It's excellent, and I look forward to being, again, a productive city manager as we move forward.
Nice thing is those challenges have been laid out. I think that we had a real productive retreat. I think the newspaper covered it well, talked about some of our successes and going forward. And these are things that we want our public to know, that we're just not up here spending the taxpayers' money just freely. We actually are doing things that are good for the community. And I think it was well pointed out, and the newspaper did a good job point out what we talked about, how we compare to some other cities. Especially our size, we actually compare ourselves to larger cities, and that's okay.
Yeah. Anything else? If not, do I hear a motion for adjournment? We're looking at you, J.H.
I move, do we go into executive session? Oh,
I think so.
I move for adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn.
We'll all second that one.
Second, yeah.
From the comedian over here. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. We are adjourned.